car just completely speeds out of the way. People are jumping out of the way, and we almost just witnessed an accident at the intersection over on the left. It is a very chaotic scene here this morning in the early hours.
And I'm Mike Moss. Minnesota's Attorney General says just because none of the officers involved have been charged doesn't mean they won't be charged. Keith Ellison.
They are trying to make sure that their case is strong and airtight. They're mindful of how the Freddie Gray case, nobody ended up getting conviction. How Walter Scott in South Carolina, the state case hung and there was no conviction. They want to make sure they have a case that sticks. And unfortunately, that is taking more time than any one of us want.
Protests erupted in many cities. In Louisville, at least 7 people were shot as protesters demonstrated against the killing of Breonna Taylor, a black woman fatally shot by police in her home in March. At the various protests, demonstrators chanted, "Black Lives Matter," and "I Can't Breathe." The Dow futures down about 200. I'm Mike Moss.
Text us to receive up to 5 marketing texts sent via automated technology to your number. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply. Membership automatically renews. Cancel anytime.
Hi, you ever heard of Beachbody On Demand? Hold on a second. Here is your free membership. I'm Carl Deichler, the CEO of Beachbody, and I just sent a free membership to another customer. And I'm giving away 10,000 free memberships a week to anyone who texts me right now to try our new Beachbody On Demand fitness and nutrition app. Just text the word JOIN to 303030 to get instant access to all $8,000 of our best-selling fitness programs like 21 Day Fix, Insanity, P90X, T25, and PIO. These programs really work, and this is your one chance to try them for free. Just text the word JOIN to 303030. That's JOIN to 303030 right now, and I'll send you your own free membership.
More Texas businesses are reopening this weekend under Phase 2 of Governor Abbott's plan. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Texas water parks able to reopen at 25% capacity. Ryan Forson with Hawaiian Falls Water Park says the grounds will allow for social distancing.
We've separated our tables and chairs, spread them out much more than we usually do.
Other water parks only allowing guests by reservation and some waiting until next month to reopen. Sunday, recreational sports can resume and pro sports too at 25% capacity at outdoor events. Indoor events can't have spectators. Clayton Neville, Dallas.
President Trump is threatening to take action to bring the city of Minneapolis under control, his words, calling the protesters there thugs, and saying that when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Twitter did not like that tweet. Twitter said that it glorified violence, and as a result, it put a warning on the president's tweet. I'm Mike Moss.
Talking with Tim at Union Pennzoil Quick Lube and Tying both cars. Tim, how's it going, buddy?
Woody, I tell you, it's very uncertain times.
It is uncertain times. You're right about
Listen,
that.
we're all in this together, folks. Just keep praying. We're going to get through it all, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing I do know for certain is folks here at Union Quick Lube Pennzoil, we're here for you.
Yes, sir.
So you got to take care of your car. We're all going to get to go somewhere at some point, whether vacation or something. And a lot of folks are still working, so you got to have your vehicle. So get your car ready, make sure it's ready to go whenever we're going to be able to go, and just do the right thing, until that point. That's all we can do.
Just be smart.
We got the number one oil in the world, folks, and I've been saying it almost 7 years now, Chris, and I tell you, we've got such a great customer base, so loyal, and we're loyal to you, folks. We're going to do whatever it takes to keep you rolling. You know where we're at, 520 Rice Avenue, Union Quick Lube. I say a prayer for y'all. Come see us.
Union County's news and information station, 1460 WBCU.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
And good morning. Good morning to you. I'm Mike Stevens out on the street this morning. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, that sounds very much like a delay in what we're doing. But anyway, we are here, and something we haven't done before. Am I supposed to be on AM? Tell me where to go.
You are.
And all right, just makes things interesting to get started off, because you never expect these things to go as planned. But we are here with you this morning out on the street, and with the candidates for the office of sheriff. And we have all 5 of the Democratic candidates with us today out here, and they're going to be answering some questions. Now, we will do this again later, closer to November, with whomever may win the nomination for the Democratic Party, and we'll do it with the Republican candidate. That's coming up. So I'm sorry, fellas, there's only going to be one of you there. It's just the way it goes. We are delighted to be here. We want to say thank you this morning to Jerry McKee and Kyle Brannon. Anna, we thank you. And Charles, we thank you at the Daily Times for publicizing this event for us. It is live, obviously, on the radio. It is also being streamed. You can actually see a picture. If you go on to WBCU's Facebook site, or Jerry McKee down home, or just Jerry down home? Oh, okay, Jerry McKee. You can get on his site there, and the KC Show on Facebook. You can see this being streamed. So this is a first for us, and probably a first for many of you. Give you something you hear in church pretty often. We ain't never done it that way before. and we haven't, but we're delighted to be here with you. As I say, the sheriff's candidates are with us, and I'm going to introduce them to you in the order they're sitting. This is not necessarily, well, it's definitely not in an alphabetical order. But first, on my left is John Sherfield, longtime deputy. Jeff Bailey, who is here and has served in the judicial part of the law enforcement. The incumbent sheriff, David Taylor, is with us, also a longtime deputy in law enforcement, Robbie Hines, and my friend from Jonesville, Carl Jennings. Carl is the chief of police up there, but currently on a leave of absence in order to be able to run for this office. So I would say let's get right into this because, well, I don't know how long it's going to take. This is not rehearsed. The first question is this. Sheriff Taylor has stated that currently he has one of the best staffs in the sheriff's office that he's had in a while. If this is so, why are other candidates constantly discussing all the changes they want to make to the deputies within the sheriff's office? Do you, as a candidate, not believe in the current men and women that are serving? Who wants to take that first? Go ahead, John.
Well, the sheriff's office does have a good many good deputies. All of them are good deputies, actually. I've never said that I would fire anyone. My platform is restructuring the sheriff's office and putting people in places that they need to be to benefit the sheriff's office and the citizens of Union County in the best way. I think we have a lot of young deputies. Over the last few years, we lost a lot of deputies with over 20 years experience. And it's just, we're a young department and we need a lot of training.
Okay. Just, I got it, Chris. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to respond to that? Go ahead, Robbie Hines.
Yes, sir. I sincerely believe that the deputies that we have at the sheriff's office are good, wholesome deputies. They do the right thing. They are very eager to want to learn, to better themselves, to make the citizens of Union County feel safer. I think restructuring the sheriff's office is something that is necessary to be able to put the right people in the right places. We have so many opportunities that's awaiting for us on the horizon. I'll be able to put those in place once I become sheriff, and we'll be able to move forward in definitely a more proactive relationship with the citizens of Union County and togetherness as a team.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Carl Jennings.
I have worked with some of these deputies, and I don't see a flaw in them. You know, it just needs to be training. I think that's what we need to look forward to, is train them, and, you know, betterment for the community. And that's basically what I see. Like I said, I work with some of these deputies, and I think they're a good group of people.
Okay. David, well, who wants? Okay, Sheriff Taylor.
I've made this comment, and I back that comment. There's nothing that can replace teamwork, morale, and experience. And that's what we have now in the sheriff's office. I've talked to some of these deputies too, and they've told me about some of the candidates riding around looking to see if they have a David Taylor sign in their yard. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's called loyalty. And that's what we want in the sheriff's office. That's what we have. We have a great team of experience. One thing that we're dealing with right now with the pandemic is that training at the academy has been put on hold. Hopefully it's going to free back up. But right now the training that we're getting, we're having to get off the academy training site, and we're also getting training from our training simulator and our FTOs who are training our new deputies.
Very good. Anyone? Jeff Bailey.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of good people in the sheriff's department, and I feel like I'm having some problem with the headset, but like I said, I feel like there's good people in the sheriff's department. I think what they need is good leadership and good management. And, you know, you got to remember, all those folks in there, they have families. So you can't say that I'm going to come in and wholesale fire the whole crowd. You wouldn't have anybody to work. You just have to evaluate those people there, the whole staff, and see what their skill sets are. And then you're going to build a team based off their skill sets, and that will help you move forward in the future.
Good. Thank you, Jeff. You know, interesting you mentioned that because that's the way it used to be. New sheriff, new deputies. And thankfully, that's no longer the case because the training for a sheriff's deputy now is so much more intense than it used to be to go out and find a guy plowing in the field and ask him if he's got a gun, and if he does, he's a sheriff's deputy. We don't do it like that anymore. So thank you so much. And we got to hear from all 5 of the candidates during that. Let's go to another question. I got too many things to do up here. I understand that there is a debate between the sheriff's candidates tomorrow. Well, we didn't need to say that. It goes on to say, I would appreciate it if Jeff Bailey could answer the question for me. And the question is, why should voters decide on you as a candidate for sheriff if you've never taken part in anything involving day-to-day duties as an active police officer? What is your plan to lead an office to which you haven't performed simple patrol tasks? Jeff?
Okay. I mean, that's an easy question. Like I said, I had 7 years with probation and parole. I went to the academy just like everybody else. I actually carried a firearm, was trained in defensive tactics, handcuffs, and all the things we had back then. It was important. Times have changed, so there's a lot of things that have changed in training. But I did extraditions across state lines. I was at statewide jurisdiction. So actually, in a patrol car patrolling the road, no, I didn't do that. But I supervised over 100-something people that was sentenced in probation. I took those people when they violated. I presented them before a general sessions judge, and so. But it's not always about being a deputy. I've got a business degree. I've run several businesses, and I think that's exactly what the people need now. They need leadership and management. Somebody can take care of the finances and take care of the day-to-day operations, because the deputies are trained. They're skilled people. But you have to organize those skills and put them and put those deputies in the right situation. The people that work under you is what's going to make you. It's not about me. I'm not a superhero, and I can't tell you I'm going to make all the right moves. But I will put the people into situations and give them the opportunity to make those decisions on their own and do the best they can. And that's what it's going to be. It's about leadership and management and making good decisions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. All right. When do y'all want to operate this? I mean, I'm getting confused on it. We have a timer out here. We're trying to, for the sake of time, trying to limit the responses to 2 minutes from each candidate, because 5 candidates is a lot to go through in a set amount of time. We have another. Well, anybody that wants to respond to what Jeff had to say there, well, we got John. Go ahead.
To be an effective leader, I think you have to actually know the job. I think Jeff is a good guy, and many of them say he's Christian. I'm also a Christian, but that's don't make you know the job. Jeff has no on-call experience. He's never answered a domestic call or never investigated a murder. And I have. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 27 years, and I have 30 years of law enforcement experience. I've been a uniform deputy supervisor. I've been a narcotics supervisor over the Criminal Investigative Division, K-9 Division. I've been on the SWAT team, and I've been the leader of a multi-jurisdictional task force. I know the ins and outs and the aspects and what the job entails and what the deputies need. That's why I think I'm the best candidate, Mike.
Sheriff Taylor, you were going to say something?
Yes.
You're on.
That's a great question that was asked, and that, to me, that goes back to morale. How is that going to affect the morale of a deputy who's been working that is now having to take orders from someone who's never answered a police call in their career? Been out of the judicial system for the past 4 years. I think if that's the case, the morale in the sheriff's department will go down because they feel like somebody with less experience than the first-year deputy is trying to supervise them and give them administrative duties.
Robbie, you were going to respond?
Yes, sir. With my 28 years of experience, during those 28 years, I was very active in the training at the sheriff's office. I was over the training. I was a driving instructor, a firearms instructor, a taser instructor, an OC instructor, where I would sit down and I would instruct the deputies and make sure that they are prepared to go to the academy. Now, the way the law has changed, the first 4 weeks are taught here at the Sheriff's Office, and I led those instructions through the Criminal Justice Academy. From there, we would get them registered and send them down to the academy, where they would complete the last 8 weeks from the academy, and hopefully graduate and come back to the Sheriff's Office and be very productive and well-trained.
Anyone else? Carl?
Yes. I'm sitting here listening to all the accolades, all the I. We need to be one, and I agree with Jeff when he says that, management. I mean, all the accolades are yours, but it needs to be passed down to the deputies. The training need to be passed down to the deputies. They need to be managed. They need to be looked after. And I understand that all the accolades serves no purpose to those deputies. That are your accolades.
Okay.
Jeff? Mike, I'd like to say something to you. I'm going to kind of defend myself in this situation. You can have all the training in the world. You can have all the pieces of paper on the wall tells you how good you are and all that. But when it comes down to it, if you're looking at the ones that just attacked me, they've got over 75 years combined experience, and you see where we're at today. So maybe it's not about training. Maybe it's not about answering calls. But, I just wanted to lead the sheriff's department in a different direction. And I'll bet if you lead that department and you manage that department and put people in place to, use their skills, then I think the morale is going to be a lot better. They're not worried about answering calls or stuff, or did I answer a call? That's beside the point. They're looking for leadership and management in that office to give everybody a fair shot at doing what they can do, and they can progress and they can get better. That's the whole goal in life, is to better yourself, and that's exactly what I want to offer them. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, John Sherfield.
Yes, Mike. I heard Robbie say that he was overtraining. Well, the one problem that bothers me right now is the last time the deputies qualified with the firearms was November of 2018. They haven't shot since then. Deputies need to shoot on a regular basis and be familiar with the firearms. In fact, I think it is a policy with SLED that you must shoot. Also, he's mentioned that he was over the evidence. Well, while he was over the evidence, we had to purchase 3 new firearms because some firearms that was in evidence were accidentally sold to a gun dealer. So we had to purchase 3 new firearms for individuals because those guns got gone. Also, he mentioned he was the firearms instructor. Well, he also didn't mention that he was the only one in history of the sheriff's office that had an accidental discharge inside the sheriff's office of his firearm inside the courthouse. He shot a hole through the desk, and if it had been a detective on the other side of the desk, he would have killed him. Had I been sheriff, I would have revoked his training right then.
Okay. Robbie's got something to say. Robbie Hines.
Yes, sir. Mandated through the Criminal Justice Academy, the deputies are required to at least qualify once every 2 years. Due to budget restraints and the affordability of our ammunition, we were definitely restrained in the way of buying enough ammunition for our deputies to be able to qualify and have ammunition on hand should a active shooter situation or something to occur. So we had to kind of weigh the options. So we chose to basically just to omit 1 year without being able to qualify. The situation on the evidence, the weapons that were sold was prior to me taking over evidence. It was with the former evidence custodian that had nothing to do with me whatsoever. When I took over evidence and we enacted the new Zerker records management system, the evidence in the vault to include weapons were specifically inventoried by me and placed in the Zerker records management system to better manage all evidence, not just the weapons that we had. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to ask her a question of my own in here. One thing that I have seen in my limited association with law enforcement is you hire a new deputy, and part of being a deputy is you've got to go to the academy. And one of you just explained how that works. But, and I can tell you there's one woman at the academy that will make you cry. But anyway, a lot of times that seems to be getting a job with the Union County Sheriff's Office. And getting the training is just a stepping stone to somewhere else. That's happened. Y'all all have seen that happen. How can you stop that or stem the flow of people leaving like that after the county has invested money in them, and a good sum of money? Go ahead, Sheriff.
That's a good question. That's a problem that we've been dealing with for the past 12 years or even longer. Back in 2009 when I took office, a deputy was making $34,548 a year. It's based on a 42-hour work week. and that comes out to $15.82 an hour. $15.82. There are people out doing less stressful jobs with less training that is making more money than deputies are that have to deal with situations where there's an active shooter or their life's in danger every day. Today, a deputy makes $37,533. That's about $3,000 a year more than they made 12 years ago. And that's $17.19 an hour. So a deputy now is only making $1.37 more an hour than they were making 12 years ago. You tell me any position that has got less raises than what our deputies get. And how are we going to be able to keep them from agencies like Spartanburg, when they can go up there and automatically start making $5,000 a year more than we're paying them here? Or they can go to work for a state agency for the same reason. A person that stays with this department is here because they want to serve the citizens of Union County and they don't want to have to go out of county. You used to be able to say, you know, we provide them a county vehicle. Well, so does Spartanburg County now, and they get to drive it to Spartanburg every day. If you looked up on 176 every morning going out of county, you'd see about 14 deputies leaving.
All right. Anyone else want to respond to that? Go ahead, John.
I think the pay is one aspect of losing deputies, but I think the morale in the sheriff's office is at an all-time low, which is reflected by the turnover rate. Used to, when I was growing up, you had to wait for years for a sheriff's office position to come open, and now we have 3 or 4 years. It seems like like I said, we have a lot of young deputies that need a lot of training. When these deputies come in, especially at a young age, they're eager, they're ready to work, and they want to do stuff. They want to be excited. They want to learn and train, and I think we need to take advantage of that. We need to send them to the training while they want to do that, and guide them in the direction that they want to take their law enforcement career. They're also, Mike, they're tired of the negative publicity. When the leader of the sheriff's office is caught up in SLED investigation after SLED investigation, and these deputies go out on calls, they get ridiculed. And that's a bad feeling, because I've been there, but there's nothing that you can say. You can't really defend yourself. So I think we need to clean that up, better training, and it always helps to tell a person that they're doing a good job. Let's reward them, and I have incentives in mind that I plan on putting in place if elected sheriff.
Who else? Carl, were you going?
Yes, I was going to say that I would encourage deputies to be trained. I would encourage them to move on. Not just, sometimes you can't help that you're not getting paid, what you're worth. But, that's one of the things. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money. But I would encourage a deputy that's been trained and they want to pursue something and better their career to move on. I wouldn't want to hold them back and stifle that. But, if you just don't have the money in the budget to pay them, you just don't have the money, and they seek something else, and, just wish them the best of luck.
Very good. Robbie Hines.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I totally agree that as a leader, we should be leading and guiding and directing our employees, building our employees up, bringing our employees in with the complete and total understanding that this is the pay that you will get. They sign the paper stating that they understand and acknowledge how much money they will be making with that. There are other incentives that we as a leader should be providing. We should be definitely working on morale, working to build up the employees, a family surrounding, a family partnership, making people feel welcomed. I'm the only candidate that was the director over the Union County Jail and also the director over Union County 911. We had those same issues and concerns while at the jail and at 911 about pay scale. However, through building blocks, through positive reinforcement, staying on top of not just the professional issues but also personal issues. I was able to relate with them on a personal and professional level, show them that I cared and that I understood. I worked with them to accommodate issues. If they had a doctor's excuse or something, oftentimes I would come in and cover the console at dispatch or work at the jail. It's about being there for the employees. Thank you.
All right. Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, this is not about training. This is the reason that they don't have the money is because, I mean, you get a line item in the budget that tells you how much salaries and all that is. I think it's just a business decision here to make sure that the money is allocated right to the deputies, and you got to take that. You got to look at everybody's salaries. You got to look at where you need them. Do you need this here? Do you need that there? And you take that money and allocate it to the deputies, and because that's what's going to be the incentive is to keep them there is make sure they're getting the money they deserve because it's a dangerous job. But also, you got to look at it from a standpoint of nobody wants to go to work and know that they'll never better themselves. So you've got to give them that opportunity and promote people based on merit. Not by who you know or what they say or how they make you feel. You got to promote people based on merit. And when you do that, then you're going to get good qualified people. They're going to stay. They got to know that they have an opportunity to advance. They don't want to be just a road deputy the whole time. They want to advance. They want to be an investigator. But you got to give them that opportunity. And with allocation of the monies in the right directions, I think that we can, we might have to cut out something here that we might not feel is necessary. And that's where I feel like the business management part of it, that's going to be important to get the citizens of Union County what they need. Thank you.
Okay, Sheriff.
I want to respond to what Robbie said. He said he was the only one that run the jail. He must have forgot he worked for me when he was running the jail. But the salaries at the jail when I was running the jail and I was over the jail was always a concern. We've always worked to try to get pay increase. And the funny thing is, after I give the jail up and the county took it over, their budget went up $500,000 for salary increases. So that's another concern. If it happened after I give up the jail, why didn't it happen before I give up the jail?
All right, we'll leave that question as being rhetorical, and unless somebody else wants to.
Yeah, I remember when Robbie was over the jail, he was also over 911. But don't forget, that didn't last very long, that those two departments were taken away from him because of employee complaints.
Okay, Robbie,
Yes.
you look like you want to say something.
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely not. Neither department was taken away from me at all. I had no complaints from the employees. As a matter of fact, both of the departments that when I left threw me a party and wished me well. I was transitioned back to the sheriff's office due to some health issues from the chief deputy. So I was brought back to the sheriff's office where I assumed the position of major over administration.
All right, I'm going to move on. And I have actually looked forward to asking y'all this question that came in from one of our listeners. And some of the candidates, so this person says, state that they wish to change the deputies' uniforms. Do any candidates plan to go back to the Howard Wells style of dress uniform? Many other counties have appeared to move toward the outer vest with uniform shirts and tactical pants that would seem to be more realistic for a county deputy versus a city officer. Who wants to respond? I'm going to go with Robbie first, okay?
Yes, sir. The uniforms that our deputies are wearing, they're very convenient as far as the attire, as far as the abilities that it provides. Our deputies are way active as far as more physical abilities and stuff that's necessary, from searching a house, crawling into an attic, from running 2 or 3 miles in the woods after a suspect. It's a universal style uniform. I would like to tweak it a little bit where it's a little more professional, especially when it comes to events such as funerals, dignitaries coming into Union County, having another option, possible Class A uniform. However, this is all about budget. The budget that we have for our uniforms is limited, so it would be something that would need to go before County Council and budgeted during the fiscal year, asking and justifying why we would need extra money to possibly purchase extra uniforms.
John, I think you were.
Thank you, Mike. The sheriff's office is budgeted roughly a little over $16,000 a year for uniform allowance to buy uniforms for the detectives and uniform patrol. And the uniforms that we have now, they're just out of date, Mike. We need to update those uniforms if elected. And I've mentioned this on my Facebook page. If elected, I would update those uniforms. I would actually change to something like Spartanburg County or either Anderson County Sheriff's Office is wearing. I think it looks more professional. I would also make sure every deputy has a dress uniform to work things like Robbie said, weddings, funerals, and yes, we've worked both before. One of the most embarrassing times that I've had at the sheriff's office is going to Detective Mike Doty's funeral and over in York County, and the deputies were told to wear the uniforms. Well, they wore faded cargo pants with tennis shoes to this deputy's funeral, and at the same time, he had an officer from L.A. Police Department, California Highway Patrol, Alaska, New York that came here, and they looked top notch. They were dressed to a T, and it's just a shame that we're a neighboring county and we can't go and actually wear a dress uniform and show respect to a neighboring deputy's death. Also, I think when you're working these functions, it looks nice to have a deputy there. It says a lot about the character of not only the deputy but the whole department, and I would like to upgrade that, Mike.
Okay. Who else?
All right,
Jeff.
Yeah, I mean it's I think everybody needs to look the same. That's my. You need to be able to easily identify them as law enforcement officer, and those it's going to come down to what you can get as far as the budget and how you can change that. But it's a show of discipline for everybody to look the same way, and that's what you got to have. You got to have discipline and you got to have structure, and that's just part of the department, and that's what we really need. And once you get that, and you get the money allocated later on, it's not going to come right away that you can change uniforms. I don't think the money's going to be there. But we can change it the best way that we can and use the resources we have to make them look better and to give them, just a positive attitude in the public. I think that's what we need to do.
David, when you were elected, defeated Howard Wells for this position, one of the first things you did was change the uniforms.
Yes, that's correct. They were wearing white shirts and dress pants. No deputy should be wearing white shirt on a patrol call. You go back and you can look at every picture from academy graduation class, and you will see Union County is the only one that's ever had a white shirt. You might as well paint a bullseye in front of that white shirt if you're going to send a deputy out in the night with a white shirt on. So we changed away from that, and we changed away from that expensive uniform back then, and that's one reason why we went to the cargo pants and we went to the blue shirts. We just recently changed to the outer vest. All of our guys have the same uniform except our two drug dog canines, and you handling a dog all day and you out with that dog searching cars, and they wear a little more fatigued looking pants than everybody else. We do have a $16,000 budget for 31 people. That's $516 a year for each deputy. You're not going to buy a whole lot from a uniform company for that price. You're not going to buy a whole lot from Walmart for that price. So that's why we're going to the outer vest.
Was somebody up here going to say something? I guess not. Well, anyway, I want to go back to John Sherfield.
The sheriff is talking about all the deputies wear uniforms, but if you go by the sheriff's office, you'll see some deputies wearing black tennis shoes, some wearing black boots, some wearing white T-shirts under their shirts, some wearing black shirts under the shirt. Some deputies are wearing Sam Brown belts with fixed holsters. Some deputies are wearing regular belts with clip-on holsters. Some have 2 magazine holders, and some have 1 magazine holder. And that's not what I'm wanting, Mike. I'm wanting it to be a uniform division, which means everyone wears the same thing in the same place, unless, of course, they're left-handed or right-handed shooter. You have to make exceptions for where the holster is. But I think the first step of regaining back some of the lost respect from the citizens is looking and acting professional. And you only have one chance to make that first impression.
Okay. Sheriff Taylor?
I counter that, and I'll say this. If a citizen's home's broke in, he don't care if a deputy comes to his house wearing holy blue jeans, as long as his case is solved and the person is arrested. It's about solving the crime. Yeah, we've got enough uniforms that we look professional, but when the bottom line comes out, they don't care what you're wearing. They want their crime solved, whether it's robbery, whether it's shooting, or whatever. Bottom line, it comes down to solving crime.
Sounds like a debate the boss and I have over uniforms. He's not listening to me. They were talking about uniforms, and I said, it sounds like a debate you and I have. Okay. Next question.
Can I ask a question?
Did you send one in?
Actually, this just came.
Actually, he's the boss. We can let him do that.
The actual question, and I apologize, came from one of our listeners during this event. Wants to know if any of the candidates have active shooting training at schools as a priority. So, what would your priority would active shooter training at the schools be a priority for any of the candidates?
Go ahead, John Sherfield.
Yes, sir. We've done active shooter training at some of the schools. We went in and visited the schools. The SWAT team had layouts of every school. Doors locked while school is in session. We have active shooter training at several facilities, several companies here like Timken. We have the layouts and the blueprints of the plant, so we know the ins and outs of the plant in case we go there. Of course, that's not made available to everyone. We use that strategically, and yes, I would definitely keep that up. That's a good thing. I would train. That's my motto.
And let's see, Robbie, I think, was next.
Yes, sir. Active training, unfortunately, has become a way of life. That is the direction law enforcement has to constantly stay on top of. We should be honing in on our training, all training, but especially the active shooter. I think that's very important, and that we also encompass the school district as well as the SROs. Training has always been a priority at the Sheriff's Office comes to active shooter. We've sent several deputies off to specialized trainings for the active shooter scenarios. We've actually had scenario-based training through emergency management that I was very much involved in out at the high school a couple years ago. We had emergency management out of Columbia here assisting us and guiding us and also grading us on how we performed. We had a good turnout from local law enforcement and the Sheriff's Office, as well as the volunteer fire departments, to get us involved and to help us, assist us, and make us successful. Thank you.
Okay, can we stand by a moment here? Can you give a train a ticket for being too loud?
I wish we could.
Go ahead, David.
Our department is the first department that ever did active training, active shooter training at Union High School. So this is something that has become a priority for us. We had an outside company come in and do that training with us, and then we did it jointly just a couple of years ago with Cherokee County and some other agencies that involved the fire service, EMS, and the school district. I am concerned from the standpoint that the school district doesn't put the same amount of emphasis on this matter as law enforcement does. I know they have their own curriculums that they have to worry about and see that they get the school education aspect of it in. But it only takes one situation like over at Townville to change the outlook of what happens in a school. And I think the school district needs to make this an active part. And it is by state law that they do a certain amount of training each year. And that needs to be a joint venture with law enforcement and the school district.
Good. Carl Jennings.
Yeah, I think active shooter training is very important because it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. You know, and it is very important that we continue the active shooter training because we have to look out for those kids.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Jeff,
I think active shooter training is a must. We got to have it. We also need to use our assets that we have in the schools, the SROs, get them their training they need, and that way they can be on the point of everything, and maybe they can evaluate the situation, and maybe they can cut it off before it gets there. That's basically what I'd count on is they're getting the intelligence or the information from, students will talk to you if they trust you. And, that's a good thing to have with SROs. We need to use more of those, use their skills better, and put them in the situation that would give us the information to, make good decisions and use that training in active shooter. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone?
One other thing to follow up with what Jeff said, our SRO officers have to have SRO training before they can go into school. A non-certified officer cannot serve as an SRO officer if he's not been academy trained. So they get that shooter training in as part of their SRO training.
I got a question.
Just give me a second. We have a tendency to use a lot of acronyms, but not everybody knows what a SRO is. That is a school resource officer, a police officer in the school. Jeff, I think you were up.
Yeah, I guess my question would be is how many of the SROs or school resource officers are actually have received all the training they're supposed to have at this point in time?
Anybody? John, were you gonna?
I know for a fact there've been several officers in schools down here. Matt Fell came here from Lancaster and worked in Chester County. He was SRO down here on Main Street. He's never been to SRO school. Not taken away from the other officers, but there was 2 officers that were recently at Buffalo. They never went through SRO training. So I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Yeah. I didn't know there was an SRO training.
Yes, there is, and mostly the SRO trainings are done in the summer when there's no school in session. So you have to, it's quite a backlog of getting these officers in the academy now. The governor just passed a law last year that there would be an SRO officer in every school. There is an SRO officer in every school, but the academy didn't make the accommodations to get everybody in the SRO school in a yearly time fashion. So that's why some of them have not been to the SRO training.
No openings.
Sir?
No openings.
Right now, all the classes have been canceled until the academy reopens.
Anybody? Robbie Hines.
In response to that, with the governor enacting the law about putting SRO school resource officers in all the schools, basically the Criminal Justice Academy just could not handle the overflow. They did allow us a grace period to be able to get people certified. The requirement is that the deputies must be, or police officers must be Class 1 certified, or certified through the Criminal Justice Academy first, and then we can send them to a school, and then waiting on that grace period to be able to get into the academy to become SRO, school resource officer certified.
Okay. We've got a question here that was actually just called in to the station, and I'm not sure I understand it. And I'll just read the question as it was presented to me. And it says, if elected, will David Taylor still be employed with the sheriff's office? I guess that means if David Taylor is reelected, I don't know where else you would be.
If I am reelected, I will be county. That's why I'm running for I don't know if they're asking if some of these other candidates are going to employ me or not. I would say probably none of them would. But, I don't know. I can't explain that question either, Mike.
Okay. Well, there may be some confusion on the part of the person that asked this question concerning the proposal that went before county council about a county-wide police department, and then the sheriff wouldn't have as much authority, I guess.
Well, the countywide police conversation is dead and buried. Council buried that back earlier in the year, so that's not an issue.
Not on the table. Okay. Either way, we gave an answer. Whether it was right, we gave an answer. All right, here's another question. If elected, it would appear that you are stepping into a black hole. What are the first 3 things you would do if Union County decides you are the sheriff? I'm going to start on this end with Carl Jennings.
First thing I would do, stepping in, if elected sheriff, is rebuild the trust in the community with Union County citizens. I will engage the deputies and sit down with the senior deputies and listen to their comments and concerns, and try to make a career path for the newer deputies to see where they want to go. And then that way we'll build the morale back in the sheriff office. And thirdly, I would change the uniforms, but being prior military, a regular Army veteran, I think professionalism and the way you look does play a part. Even though you go answer calls, but after the fact, they still going to talk about how you looked. So that's one of the 3 things there's 3 things I would change if elected sheriff.
Coming down to Robbie Hines.
Yes, sir. When I took over the jail and also dispatch, I sat down with every single employee, went on a personal level with them, asking them kind of give me their ins and outs, their ups and downs, their concerns, as far as how they saw the jail or 911 progressing. Based on that, we were able to execute a plan where everybody got on board. And it was very successful. That's exactly what I would do once taking over as sheriff. I would sit down with the deputies, find out what their concerns are, what their aspirations are, where do they see themselves in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. Try to build off of that. That might require some specialized training that I would have to go before county council and ask in a budget. For example, if somebody had aspirations of being a pilot, I would have to obviously send in a very special request and budget to see if we could send that individual to pilot school or something. I would also work on morale, boosting that. I think with my step 1, that would enforce morale, getting people to enjoy their job, loving coming to their job. I mean, bottom line is these deputies basically spend more time with the family at the sheriff's office than they do with their own family at home. And this should be like a vacation for them when they come here, something that they look forward to when they come to work. And then thirdly, I would work on letting that resonate out into the county, letting the deputies speak on behalf of the sheriff's office, and explaining to the to the citizens of Union how much the sheriff's office improved. Thank you.
All right, David, you are the sheriff. Are there things that you would change in another term?
I think the changes that need to be made have already been made. As I stated earlier, the morale is the best that it's been. And the question was, they're going to step into a black hole. There's pessimistic and there's optimistic. Some people see the glass half empty. I see the glass half full. And some of these candidates have been in positions to boost morale. If they haven't boosted it in those positions, why do the people think they're going to be able to boost it now?
Okay. Jeff Bailey.
The three things I believe is most important, I would evaluate the finances, because without money you can't operate. Number two, I'd evaluate all deputies and staff and make sure that they're where we need them to be. Once again, like I said, based on their skills and what they can do to contribute to the team. And the third thing I would do is I would get out and try to mend the fence between other counties, make them feel comfortable working with us again. I'd work with the solicitor's office. I would try to have a good rapport with the judges. And once you mend a lot of those fences, which I think have been torn down, I believe it's a long-term process, but that's what I would do. You've got to do those three things, I believe, in order to get the department on its feet again. And once it's rolling, then everything will fall together. Then your people will believe in you, the morale will be better, and we'll be professional and operative again. Thank you.
John Sherfield.
Thank you, Mike. The first thing I would do is start working on good morale and ensure that the morale is a spot now. We lose deputies all the time here. I would talk with them, see where they wanted to go, offer them training. I'd also give incentives, as I spoke about earlier, to deputies that are doing a good job, such as if they attended the academy and they had the highest average and won the J.P. Strom Award there, I would maybe give them their pick of a shift, day or night, or maybe the first new patrol car, which would boost morale and make deputies want to do better. I'd give awards out to the deputies for outstanding service. Secondly, I would try to work on the relationship with the community. I have to show them that I am going to be a sheriff that is accountable for the funds. I'm going to be a sheriff with an open door policy where you can come in and see me and talk to me, and they can trust me, Mike. We'll work on that and have communication between myself and deputies and the citizens of the union. And thirdly, I'm going to work on the drug problem. Like, as you know, 95% of the crime in any county across nationwide is drug driven right now, and I have the drug experience and the relationship built with other communities and counties and local, state, and law enforcement officers, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office, that I can get this done. And going back to what Sheriff Taylor said, I was a major here with the Sheriff's Office, but you can't do anything here with the Sheriff's Office unless it is approved by him. We're going to be proactive if I'm Sheriff.
Okay, thank you,
Mike,
so
can
much.
I follow up on that?
Yes.
As I said earlier, some people see the glass half empty. I see the glass half full. And Jeff made the comment that people are not working with us. And that's seeing the glass half empty. We had the SLED suppression gang unit in town last night with Fairfield County, Newberry County, and Whitmire. So the people that are putting this forest out there, that people are not working with us, they need to know what's going on.
This is a open-ended question here. I think it's a good question. I hate to ask it, but I do think it's a good question. I'm trying to decide where to start. Jeff Bailey, I'm going to start with you. We'll go down and come back. And the question is, what does leading by example mean or look like to you?
Leading by example, as a sheriff, that's a respected position. You have to carry yourself in a professional manner. You have to present yourself in a professional manner. And when you do that, then the deputies, the investigators, the public, they're going to notice that. And I think the sheriff should be held to the same standards as a deputy, as a corporal, as a sergeant, whatever it may be. You have to be held those standards, and that's why that I'm saying that the South Carolina Law Enforcement Accreditation is something that I want to pursue, because it takes care of policy and procedures, and it takes power away from the sheriff, which I'm good with that, because it's set by state standards. And once we get that, it gives you it helps on risk management, and it's a cut and dried process for promotion, hiring, firing. And it's set by state standards. It takes my discretion away if I'm elected sheriff, which I have no problem with, because everybody knows exactly how it's going to be operated. It's right down the line. You don't have any problems with it, and everybody knows. Thank you.
Need to just pause a half second here to do the official and legal thing and let you know that you are listening to 1460 AM, 103.5 FM, WBCU in Union, South Carolina. Got to do that once an hour.
Mike, could you repeat
the
question again since you did your commercial break?
Yeah. What does leading by example mean or look like to you?
Coach John Wooden had this phrase that he made years ago when he was coaching basketball. Says, if you're not making mistakes, then you're not doing anything. I'm positive that a doer makes mistakes. There's nobody sitting at this table that hadn't made a mistake. And with that being said, to follow up on Jeff's statement about state accreditation is not free. It does not take any power away from the sheriff. The only thing it does is cost the county money to be able to say that I'm accredited. Accreditation gives you guidelines, but is nothing that is law. So state accreditation would cost Union County about $9,000 to start, just to start the process. And all of that process is done in the department by most of the people. Then you would have to pay the state to come in and accreditate and stay here and evaluate, and you would have a fee that you would have to pay every month. As a taxpayer, I don't want to have to waste that money for a state accreditation when I have written our own policy and procedures manual. State accreditation is overrated, and if you look and see how many law enforcement agencies in this state are state accredited, you would only find about 10.
Mike, I'd like to respond to that if I could right quick. There's 9 sheriff's departments that actually are state accredited, but once again, you can, if you're writing your own policies and procedures, then you're kind of biased, I believe. And if it's set by state standards, even though it costs a little bit of money, but look at the money we're going to be saving in the long run, because we're paying out money for lawsuits. We're missing money out of the drug fund. We're missing money, $17,000 out of evidence that it was paid by the county nobody can tell me about. So at state accreditation, they come unannounced and they audit your evidence. They audit your books. They want to know what's going on. And so that's a transparent way. Say it costs us a little bit of money, but it's going to save us in the long run, and that's what it's all about.
I disagree with what he's saying. State accreditation doesn't come in and audit your evidence. The only person that can come in and audit your evidence is SLED. So that's a misrepresentation into the state accreditation.
Moving down to, I think you were next, weren't you,
Yes, sir.
Robbie?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. All right, so basically, leadership, what leadership means to me is it falls back on basically having integrity and morals. Throughout my 28-year career, I have never been challenged as far as my leadership or morals were concerned. I tried to lead, guide, and directed the employees that were underneath me, that worked with me in doing what's right. I've been in a leadership position. It's kind of like you wearing many hats, and I've had to sit down with these employees and sometimes be a counselor with them to get on a personal level for them to be able to function, be able to come in and do their job, to be able to want to come into work even on the darkest days for personal issues or professional issues. I had to be there with them, sit down with them, talk with them, and main thing is I have real life dedicated service. Working with the citizens of Union County and the employees at the Sheriff's Office, and I've been blessed being able to inspire others as into the concept of what law enforcement is, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to continue that once elected sheriff. To me, that's what leadership is.
Carl, how about you, Carl Jennings?
Okay, you asked the question, what does lead by example? All right, you lead by example by being non-biased, being transparent all across the board, and with that, being professional, having integrity and honor, that seems to stem down to the people who are working under you. I mean, you don't need to be biased. You don't need to be prejudiced. I mean, it speaks for itself. If you lead by example, then you have build the morale and that good moral compass. I mean, everything else will work for you.
Okay, thank you, Carl. I'm going to...
Hey, Mike, you don't let me answer?
Oh, I didn't see you. Throw a microphone at me. Go ahead, John.
Mike, a good leader here with the Union Sheriff's Office would be a sheriff that holds himself to a higher standard. You have to remember that you work for the citizens of Union County, and you have to represent not only your deputies but the citizens and the whole county as a whole. You don't want to do anything that embarrasses anybody. You're held to a higher standard than even what you hold your deputies. And Robbie talked about his leadership skills. I mean, Robbie was an administrative major. He sat behind a desk. He wasn't out here answering calls and doing search warrants and all that. As far as the thing that Jeff was talking about, there's 272 law enforcement agencies in the state. 27 of those agencies are accredited. I believe 10 is sheriff's offices. There's 11,600 some odd sworn in law enforcement officers, which equals out to 259 officers per 100,000 people. If accreditation was such a good idea, I believe there would be more agencies that was doing that. I remember when Union Public Safety attempted to do accreditation, they had Harry Pecco work on this for almost a year and a half, writing policies and procedures, and I just don't think that it's worth it. As far as the sheriff powers and duties, those are regulated by law under Section 13, Chapter 15 of the Code of Laws in South Carolina. That cannot be changed.
Okay, this is about as far as we're going today, because I just got the word that we have a serious storm moving our direction. Unless you want to dodge lightning and raindrops.
We can go into the studio.
So, no. But I'm going to end with one question. This is another one I've looked forward to asking, and I'm going to ask you to abbreviate your answers on this if possible. If you were not running for sheriff, who would you vote for? Boy, somebody jump out there on that one now.
I would abstain.
You
I would do the same thing. I'm not sure that I would answer that question.
Mr. Mike, that's a simple question. What's incumbent on the citizens is to look at every single candidate, find out what their beliefs are, what their background is, what their future goals are. Look at each one of those candidates and decide and determine who they feel comfortable with, not just on a professional basis, but also a godly basis and a personal basis, and make a decision based on that.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to say, but basically what I'd look for is I'd vote for whoever that I thought would bring the most change to the office, and that's the direction I'd go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone? Okay.
The same with me. I agree with Jeff. Whoever would bring the most change to the office. If I wasn't running for sheriff, that's the route I would go.
All right, quickly, brief closing statement from each of you. Notice I use the word brief. Let's start down with Carl and move back this way.
Okay. I'm Carl Jennings, running for Union County Sheriff, Democratic Party. My closing statement is that you need to vote for a sheriff that is non-biased, that doesn't have a personal agenda, and that's going to work hard for the citizens of Union County.
Very good. Robbie Hines.
Yes, sir. I want to bring change into the sheriff's office that is prudent, that's positive, that brightens our horizon. My priorities will be substance abuse, property crimes, and mental health. Those are the things that are near and dear to me. Those are the things that I think are very much concern for the citizens of Union County. I have 28 years of proven, dedicated, honest experience that I want to put to work for you, the citizens of Union County. Vote for Robbie Hines.
Sheriff David Taylor.
First of all, I want to thank the citizens of Union County for allowing me to serve as your sheriff for the past 12 years. It's an honor that you've placed your trust in me to move law enforcement forward in Union County. My vision for Union County hasn't changed since I ran in 2008, used the latest technology, tap into resources, and continue to fight the drug problem in Union County. This is a very simple election to focus on the future of Union County. And ask yourself this question: are you better off with the experience you have in office now, or do you change to the unknown? We must stay the course. It'll be a mistake to change horses in the middle of midstream for the protection of Union County citizens and to focus on the future. So as you keep these things in mind, I ask that you re-elect Sheriff David Taylor on June the 9th. Thank you.
Okay, if you look back over in the west, you see that cloud we're trying to beat.
Mine will be brief.
Jeff Bailey.
It's brief. You know, I've sit here and I've listened to all the things that we can do and could have done and all that. Well, I'm sitting up here and I didn't have an opportunity the past 12 years to implement all these programs, implement all this management, implement all this leadership and strategies. So I'm just asking the people to vote for Jeff Bailey for sheriff because give me a chance to implement my changes and my thoughts. What do you have to lose? Thank you.
John Sherfield.
Yes, sir. My family still lives here. My bottom line goal is to make Union County a safer place to live, where people want to live and move here and raise their families, and for businesses to come here and thrive. I have the leadership skills. I've been a supervisor with narcotics, uniform patrol, detectives, K-9, been on SWAT team, head of the multi-jurisdictional task force. I know what it takes to get the job done, and I hope you'll vote for me on June the 9th.
Thank you very much, John. And thank you all for being here with us this morning. I think it's been an excellent time, and we knew from the beginning we could be dodging some showers, and looks like we're going to. We're going to get out of this. Just out of curiosity, this has been streamed on our website and on Jerry McKee's website and the KC Show. Can we see that again? Can you go on and? Okay. Okay. So you will be, if you missed part of this or want someone else to see it, you can go on those, I guess, all Facebook sites and pick it up, and it's been interesting. Thank you so much to all of you for participating, and we will just say our best to you as you enter this race. Anybody want to place a bet on a runoff? No, I didn't think so. Thank you again, and we'll look forward to maybe doing this again sometime soon on the outside. I'm Mike Stevens and for WBCU News, and thanks to everybody here, including our illustrious leader. I didn't say your name yet.
I apologize we didn't get to all the questions that were emailed or called in during today. There's a lot more we could have gone through, but we got a situation. I hope you all understand, but we hope our listeners understand. We thank you all being here. We thank our listeners, and thank you again. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.